G'day, welcome back to the A to Z of Clarinet. My name is Philip and we have reached M. And M is for my favourite tool, the metronome. I like to think we should use our metronome every single time we practice. It is that friend of ours that will never lie to us. Now, a lot of us, when we're starting out, we like to think that the metronome is going to help us play in time and help us to get the rhythms right. Well, it doesn't actually help you do any of those things. What the metronome does give you is a reference beat that you can measure your progress to. I have some wonderful stories of students who come back week after week saying, yeah, the metronome doesn't really work for me. And when I prod them as to why not, they say, well, I have it on the other side of my room with the volume turned down because it's annoying. I think I know what's going wrong here. Now, one of the chief things that we use the metronome for is to gain speed and to gain accuracy in our technical runs. Probably the main piece of advice we get and we give is to start with the metronome nice and slow and then work it up a couple of clicks a day until you're feeling really comfortable. Now, that's a great approach, but that's kind of like a base level of what we can really do with our metronome. So today I'm going to share with you 3 techniques that I use with my metronome, not just to help us play faster or more accurately, but to help us develop evenness in our playing and in our technical work, and most importantly, to help us play rhythmically. And that means internalizing that pulse. When we internalize the pulse, we have no need for a metronome. So what we're trying to do is to get so good at playing in time with the metronome that we can then survive without it. Now, please keep in mind throughout this video that while I am talking about playing very even and very strictly in time, obviously what we want is to have flexibility in our playing. Now, my personal feeling is that you can't have that flexibility unless you've really developed that strictness and that evenness first. So please, bear that in mind. The 3 techniques I like to use on the metronome are, firstly, changing the size of our beats. Secondly, I think we should change the location of our beats. And then thirdly, we should change the type of beat. What does any of that mean? Stay tuned. Let's take a look at a couple of bars from the first Weber concerto, and we're going to use that as an example for the exercises today. Now, what do I mean by changing the size of the beats? Well, if we think about what the underlying problem might be, say we can play all the notes, but as we get faster, we kind of trip over our notes a little bit. Usually that's due to unevenness. Now, what do I mean by unevenness? Well, in my case, and in many of my students' cases, we tend to rush through things. We'll take a little phrase like this, and we will make it look like this. We tend to front load the beats a little bit so that we kind of rush through, and then we realize when we get to the next beat that we've got to sort of slow down a little bit. Now, in the first instance, we can make our beats smaller. We can put more metronome clicks per bar. What that does is it helps us measure the distance between those clicks, and we can stick to it a bit better and become more even. Now, I find that really helpful, but then we can take that a step further and we can give ourselves bigger beats. Now, what I mean by that is forcing ourselves to judge the distance between, say, beat 1 and beat 3, rather than just beat 1 and beat 2. It's easy across those smaller beats, but as we have a longer time to wait between those metronome clicks, there's more opportunity for us to get out of time. So putting maybe 2 clicks per bar, maybe 1 click per bar, maybe even 1 click every 2 bars. That's really going to test our ability to stay calm and stay even. Now, the second technique is to change the location of the beats. What on earth do I mean by that? Well, this is just another tool in our arsenal to be able to internalize the pulse. What we need to do is anticipate where our beat is going to come, right? That's what we did with making bigger beats. Now we're going to take that a step further, and we're going to put the metronome in odd places. Now, starting nice and easy, we can put our metronome only on off beats. that really forces us to internalize that pulse and imagine those beats and have a real physical internal connection to those beats. But now let's make that even trickier. It's easy on off beats because we often think 1 and 2 and when we're playing. But what if we put it in an unusual spot? Let's put the metronome on the second semiquaver of every beat and see how I go. All right, I kind of got there in the end, but it's a test. Let's put it on the fourth semiquaver. Now I'm really starting to sweat. Now let's make it really difficult. What if we combine that with the first technique that we used and put the metronome on every second 16th note, but only every other beat? Okay, now I've really got my work cut out for me. And you could do different combinations of this depending on the time signature and depending on how many beats in a bar you've got. That's what a time signature is, right? And now finally, if you really, really want to make life difficult for yourself, is to change the type of beats. Now, what on earth do I mean by change the type of beats? I mean, think of a different subdivision of beat. Currently, it's pretty simple because we're thinking of 4 16th notes in every beat. That's great. We're used to doing that, no matter where we put the metronome beat. But what if all of a sudden we put this in 3/16? Now we have a beat every 3 16th notes. Now the math on how to work this out with your metronome is pretty simple. You just multiply your tempo by the number of subdivisions you currently have and then divide it by the number of subdivisions that you want. So for example, I'm at 100 beats per minute. So to figure out how to put the metronome on every 3 semiquavers, we multiply it by 4, then divide by 3. So it's going to put us at a tempo around 133 beats per minute. Wish me luck. Okay, now when you get through it, it gives you a good feeling. You've really made it difficult for yourself. It's like lifting slightly heavier weights than you're used to. What about 5s? And then, of course, you can throw a bit of chaos into your practice session by combining all 3 of these techniques. So let's subdivide our beats into 5, and we're going to put the metronome on every 3rd quintuplet and only every 3 beats. Yeah, come on, you know I can't do that. Now, I know that this might be really extreme, and it's probably completely unnecessary. But think about it this way. A lot of high-performance athletes do a thing called altitude training. If you don't know what that is, basically they go to a place that is geographically very high, has a high altitude, and they train there. Now, why do they train up high? Well, they do that because the air is thinner and that makes their bodies work harder. Then, when they come back down to sea level or whatever altitude they're used to doing where they're going to compete, the air is much richer and their bodies are able to produce more energy. I probably got the scientific explanation of that wrong, but that's kind of the gist of it. We can do a similar thing with our practice. If we make life really difficult for ourselves in the practice room, when we get on stage, we're going to feel safer, we're going to feel more secure, and we're going to have much more freedom to what? Play beautiful music. So have a think about it. Maybe take some of these ideas on board. We want to change the size of the beats. We want smaller beats and we want bigger beats. Change the location of the beats. So move them around within the beat and put the click in different places. And then mess with your subdivisions. Really make your brain think so that when you go back to 4 16th notes in every beat, things are going to feel much, much easier. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you got something out of today's video, even if it is a little bit silly and unnecessary. Now, if you'd like a PDF of these exercises and some other ones that I have available from other videos, please click the link down below and sign up for my mailing list, where you'll get that, and every time I come out with something new, I'll send it your way. And thank you once again for all the emails, all the comments, all the messages, all of that kind of thing. I really love hearing from all of you, and I really love hearing that these videos are of some use to someone. So that's it for today. Take care, and I'll see you soon.